let's have a quick chat about fabric, particularly the directional prints. Welcome to the Sewing Report. I'm Jen. This channel is about making sewing fun and approachable, and I'm working on a current project, and I thought I would share this information. If you're kind of new to sewing, I notice a lot of you, it's probably kind of obvious, but when you're working with printed fabric, particularly if it has like a certain direction with the pattern, you do have to be more mindful on cutting and selecting which sections you're going to be using. So I'm working with some rayon fabric, and I'm going to be making skinny scarves. It's a pretty easy project. I do have some other videos on how to make these. They're fairly quick. I do sell them in a small quantity in my Etsy shop, and I have these gorgeous rifle paper co prints, and I'm going to be working on these. So I have this print. It's sort of a strawberry floral print, and it's got a really nice, like kind of a blush background, and it has flowers, different colors. It's got some strawberries and some other elements. I was having a bit of a hard time figuring out which direction I wanted the fabric to go, especially since this project is very long. These scarves end up being about 39 inches long when all said and done. So the direction of the print really matters for this project just because it runs lengthwise. What I did at first was I tried cutting a few strips. These are 5-inch strips, 5 inches wide by the length of the fabric. So at first I cut them perpendicular to the selvage. So the selvage runs this way. If you can do that, it's easier because you only have to commit to one strip at a time. Now the other way, which I decided to go with, you end up having to kind of commit a lot more fabric to that one thing. And I'll explain why. So I cut 2 strips perpendicular to the selvage. So the grain of the fabric goes this way, I believe. So I tried a couple, and there were some pros and cons to this. I do think cutting it this way, it has a little more variety with the pattern. It seems more random. The only thing I didn't like and why I decided not to do this for the rest of the strips is because the stems and the branches of all of the plant elements are going this way and not this way. Now, if they were on the diagonal, I would have been fine with it. I don't know, it just seems a little truncated to me. So I might actually just use these strips to make some scrunchies where it won't really matter as much. Yeah, not gonna go with this for the rest of those. So here's the difference. This is when I cut the fabric along with the selvage. So I ran this parallel to the selvage, and you can see the difference here. So the elements are going sort of like this on the ones I cut perpendicular to the selvage, but the ones that I cut parallel to the selvage, I think the design flows better. Again, these are going to be kind of long scarves. This way has a lot of repeating elements going the entire length. So you can see, so this is going to be sort of folded in half. So like one side's going to have more colorful flowers and more variety, but the other side is a bit more boring. But I do think this works best just because the pattern does seem to be more clearly running this way versus this way. That's the decision I made for this particular print. It's a little bit more difficult because, so I kind of cut 41 inches with the selvages up here. So I cut 41 inches and then I cut 5-inch strips this way. You end up having to commit more of your fabric to this, which I was fine with because I'm going to be making a number of these scarves, but you might not want to do that. So that's something to be mindful of. You also may want to fussy cut if there's something specific you want to make sure is in your cutout piece of fabrics. With this print, I did decide to cut the fabric parallel to the selvage because I do think it looks better, even though there's some, I wish the pattern was a bit more random. I think that would have looked even better. But out of these 2 choices, I don't know, it kind of bothers me that the stems and the branches are going this way instead of this way. Now, again, if they were on the diagonal, I don't think it would have been a problem. So that was sort of my thought process for this print. Here's another print. And this one I'm actually going to do the opposite with. So here I've got about a yard of this. So you can see here is the selvage. And I took a look at this print and it made more sense to me because you can see this one, it's sort of like a teal background with some tree branches and berries and some flowers. This one, you can kind of tell the branches of the trees and whatnot, they're more running this way than they are this way. So again, you kind of have to use your own judgment and make a decision. Again, it's very personal. Fabric is a very personal decision, let's be real. And in my opinion, I think the elements run more this way than they do this way. Instead of cutting the strips like this, I'm actually going to cut the strips perpendicular to the selvage. And again, that's going to be a little easier because I can just boom, 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 and I don't have to commit this entire length to it. So I do think this is going to be a little bit easier. I've got to press this fabric. By the way, Rifle Paper Co., if you have not tried this company's fabric, it's gorgeous. It's really easy to work with. And so I will link it down below in the description box. This is not sponsored or anything. I do use affiliate links, but I purchased all of this fabric myself. And I'm a big fan. It's easy to press, easy to work with. It's not super slippery. It's got a bit of a matte finish. I would say it kind of feels like a little bit like silk. It's not silk, but it's just, I don't know. I just like this fabric. So you can see the back. So it's printed on one side. I think this fabric is a 44-inch width. But again, I love the prints. They are always coming out with new designs and whatnot. This is from the English Rose collection. With this one, I'm just going to be pressing the fabric just because it is a little bit wrinkly. Now that's one downside. The fabric does wrinkle fairly easily, but it's also really easy to press. So with this one, I'm just going to be pressing this because again, I got to figure that out. It can be a little tricky to cut, so you just have to keep the fabric pretty still. So I'm just going to be folding this in half, selvage to selvage, and then cutting my 5-inch strips this way. But it really depends on your fabric and which way looks better. Now, some directional prints, it really doesn't matter which way you cut it, this way or this way. But some prints, it does make a difference. So I just wanted to do a quick sort of informational video for anyone who is kind of new or maybe just hasn't thought of this before. Anyways, let me know what you think down below in the comments. Check out some of my other videos while you're here. And definitely, if you have not been to the Rifle Paper Co. website before, they've got some really lovely fabrics. And they also have some fairly, I would say, frequent sales. So definitely catch them on a good sale. And you can get some really beautiful fabrics. Again, I would say out of all of the rayons I've tried, I like the Rifle Paper Company. I like Cloud 9 rayon. It's a little more expensive. And I also like working with Figo Fabrics rayon as well. So they're all really nice quality, nice drape to it. You can use this for clothing, for little items like scarves, scrunchies. In fact, I'm wearing a scrunchie right now in my hair that is made from Rifle Paper Co. rayon. So yeah, I think I'm not gonna do scarves with these just because, I don't know, I cut a few I thought maybe it could work, but I was like, yeah, no, it's not. Anyways, I'll see you again in the next video. I'm Jen with the Sewing Report. And remember, whatever you're doing, make it fun.